Hello and welcome back to the Timson Podcast. I
Good
am Tim,
morning.
and I am joined here by my good friend Tom.
Hey,
And
what's up?
today we're going to be talking about Ginger by Brockhampton, which I don't know if you guys have heard of Brockhampton. They're a small kind of boy band. They haven't really done much.
Mm,
Then we're going to talk about The Alchemist, Yacht Rock 2.
back again.
Hell yeah. And singles from ASAP Rocky, fresh out of Swedish jail.
Which I
And
hear isn't too bad, actually.
I am sure it's lovely, actually. In
Especially
Scandinavia,
this time
they
of
do
year.
things right. They do jail right. So you have you don't go back in. Makes sense. And then Pusha T and Miss Lauryn Hill herself, single, Coming Home. So they'll be coming at you. We're gonna start off with Ginger though.
The worst kind of human.
Uh, is it a spice or is it yeah, it's a spice or is it a vegetable?
Well, it's the worst kind of hair color.
I was gonna say it's the best kind of hair color, but okay.
And
You end up with
it's a
that.
spice.
Boy bye. Um, okay. So yeah, this is following Iridescence, last year's album, which was we talked about this in
It's our first ever review.
yeah, it was our first ever review. It was a bit of a mess. It wasn't as good as the Saturation trilogy, which are a stellar trilogy. And obviously, you made the very good point that it's a bit of a mess because at the time they were all in a bit of a mess. They just lost Amir Van. They weren't sure what was going to happen, and they were trying a new sound. They
And
were kind
without
of
that
different.
reliable Brockhampton flow in every song, I mean,
Precisely. How are you supposed to know it's Brockhampton
the
without a
format's just
guy?
out the window, isn't it?
Um, and I drive a truck, and I'm
And I
not in
think the
Brockhampton
format
anymore.
going out the
Uh,
window
uh,
is a theme on this album as well, but maybe better.
um, committed more to going in a new direction here, and it's clear from the start. No Halo kicks off with this very rich acoustic guitar, which I don't think they ever used acoustic guitars. They used like electric guitars to have some lovely kind of jazz chords at the which they'd have in the final song of each
No, they were acoustic, weren't they?
I don't think they were.
For the
Uh,
Bareface songs, they well, certainly the last one was.
okay.
Team definitely
But
was.
no, I remember Team. No, it just had loads of reverb on electric guitar. But nonetheless, it's this really rich acoustic guitar riff. This instrumental that gets thicker around the chorus, and then there's this smooth, buttery bass that is just it's Brockhampton all over. It's always so smooth. And then they have some of these spacey sounds. There's a great hook of I don't know where I'm going, which is cool. It fits this new sonic direction that they're going in. All of them have strong verses. All of them playing to their strengths. I'm very happy to hear, especially Joba, with his higher pitched singing, accentuating his verse in the background, and just like Joba, like he raps and he sings. It's what he does, and I'm glad that he's playing to his strengths more. He does definitely further on in this album. It is definitely a new direction, and spoiler it's good. It's pretty good.
It threw me at first because this was the last single they released,
Yes, it was.
and when I saw it was the first track, I was a bit like, "What?" Because usually they kick off every album with a banger. Heat,
Mm.
is it Gummy,
Boogie.
Boogie, and New Orleans, and then for
Yeah,
this one to then be the opener for this one, definitely showed right from the jump.
yeah, definitely.
Stylistic
Yeah,
change.
and
But this was probably my favorite song in the end, actually.
really, it's.
The
I think
hook's
it's.
so good, and like you said, everyone has a good verse.
Yeah.
In particular, I thought Joba and Matt.
Mm, yeah. You've really come around on Joba, man. I
No,
remember.
he's just been doing better. He's been less annoying.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a good thing. Um.
And I think, as you said, the hook with the special guest Deb Nevers, the female voice,
Oh, I didn't know that.
was particularly beautiful, actually,
It's particularly beautiful. I could say, and it's followed
and
up.
somber as well.
Beautiful track, Sugar. I love the guitar again. I love this auto-tuned crooning. I love how it comes in with that hook
Oh,
straight up. I love the dual vocals on Matt Champion's verse. How part of it is kind of childlike, where it's pitched up. Another great hook. It is so aesthetic, and it's really well put together. It's I love this kind of auto-tuned synth cascade, and then just that line, "Do you love me?" It's great. I love
I
it.
I personally found the autotune on Kevin's verse particularly annoying.
I'm sure that's fair
But
enough.
I didn't mind it on the chorus though. I thought it was nice, but
Mm.
I don't know. It just reminds me of like Lil Yachty as most annoying.
Yeah, I get a little Yachty vibe, but I don't know. I don't think most annoying. Um, it's followed up. You know, it gets a bit harder. It's had these lovely two smooth, kind of relaxed aesthetic tracks. Now it's this hard Latin percussion and these Latin rhythms. It's kind of goofy at first, kind of plucked string, but it grew on me. Um,
Does
there's
anyone know what Merlin says at the start of the song?
I have no bloody idea, if I'm going to be honest.
But
But
then
there's
Dom comes in. And my God,
mm-hmm.
that was such a good verse.
It
And he
wasn't.
kicks off saying, "Everybody asks how I deal with my depression. Man, look, I don't know the answer to your question. If
Ah.
I did, then you'd probably never hear from me again." I mean, and then he just raps so like quicker than he usually does, and it's
Yeah,
so
yeah, it definitely does.
consistent. I thought Matt was good as well. I liked everyone's performance again, apart from Bareface. I thought his verse killed the momentum of the song.
Yeah.
And if you like Joby used to be the one I always moan about. I think it's him now.
What do you think of how it ended with that woman saying "boy, bye"? It was so cool. It's hard.
Yeah, it was
You
cool.
know, it's cool. It's really cool.
It
Then
was also cool that Slow Tie was on the next song.
precisely, I was gonna say. I think you
Heaven
definitely know
belongs to
this.
you.
It's the darkest instrumental, I think. At least it's the darkest like so far.
Well, it's sort of a stripped back, slightly loomier version of If You Pray Right.
Yeah.
And it's got like, because it's got like the Juicy J sample at the end of it, like the other song does.
Mm.
But it's like it doesn't have the trumpets on it.
No.
So it's and it's I liked it because it was sort of a sign of things to come, really, with the subject matter
Kind of
fits certainly
introspective
some of the
dark
later songs,
tracks. Yeah.
and it comes from the same headspace as the majority of the album does.
Yeah, I agree. I really like
And I
so
think
it's
for
like
that reason he was
there's
pretty
one bar.
perfect.
Yeah, there's one bar about there being in his own mind there's a war like the Middle East. That was
Hmm.
and definitely like timely. I mean, he can't be much older than us. Like, you know, what you grew up with, like 9/11 happened, and then but we were too young to realize kind of what happened there. And then I mean, there's Iraq and Afghanistan, and yeah, so it's definitely at the forefront of our childhoods, or no, in the background rather. So I think that's a good bar there. St. Percy is led by a thick 808,
It's
which
the only banger on the album.
I really like the almost the sample that comes in. It's like kind of it's has this 80s vibe, and it seems almost vaporwave with the effects that done into it. It warps into the bass line from earlier, but then harder with more gain. It's angrier. It's more of a banger. There's this great
It was
verse
actually an early noughties hip hop song.
that's funny. That is very funny. It was what they did to it. How they made it seem very vaporwave. I feel. Um,
But yeah, I like that. I thought that Kevin, this was not the only time I'll say this. His verse was it sucked. He
Why?
just sounded so lazy.
Uh-huh.
And oh man, Matt was good, and Dom, he sounded like he was kind of from Bone Thugs and Harmony or something. The way he was rapping,
Mm.
it was different, and I liked it.
Yeah.
But this was a weirdly given this is probably their trademark sound, but it was a standalone piece on this album.
Yeah, it's definitely an outlier on the album, which says something about the new direction they're going in. What do you think of If You Pray Right? It's sequenced really well into it. I think that just that transition is flawless for one. I love the
Mm.
trombone line over these kind of wacky lines from Dom.
It's like
Uh,
marching band stuff.
yeah, I love the wavy synth line and the distortion at the end. I like how it goes into the sung piece, which feels very emotionally charged. A child singing about their father, or no, a child singing and then like their father kind of singing a lesson to them, and how he kind of it feels he's singing the lesson and then it turns into this kind of improvisational part over this kind of lo-fi beat, this woman's voice. It was very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the hook. Dom again's very good,
Mm.
and I like Joba again in this one. He had a lot of swagger on this song, talking about beating you up, etc. And apparently, according to my friend, Merlin's verse was having digs at Skepta for not going on to a song on Iridescence. I think it was
Oh,
Where the Cash At. And when I heard it back, it did sound like that way,
I don't even
which is
remember what
interesting.
it sounded like.
Um, the 3-6 Mafia sort of outro thing again, I thought was interesting. But the secret song at the end was very cool.
Mm.
Was it Kevin or was it a sample? I don't really know.
I don't
But
know. It was
it
really
was cool either way.
yeah.
But
And
I
there's
didn't remember that being in it when it was a single, but yet they're the same length. I didn't really listen to it, so I assume it must have been. But
no, I
I don't
didn't
know. It
listen
was cool either way.
to singles.
And then we have
Uh,
probably the headline grabbing song
Dearly Departed.
from the album,
Yeah. I think
finally
it's.
addressing the whole Amir situation.
Oh, okay. Do you want to get stuck in?
Well, you sort of have Kevin, who gives arguably his best verse, talking about how he thought him and Amir were best friends, and they were friends since childhood, apparently.
Right.
But saying that he's a bit of a liar and a betrayer. Matt's was on a similar sort of line.
Mm.
And we had this choir boy hook from Job, which was pretty sweet.
Oh
But
yes. Uh,
it's all about Dom's very emotionally charged verse, talking
yeah.
about how Amir set his friend up to get robbed because he owed him
Jesus.
money, and talking about how he was backstabbing and a liar,
Mm.
and having to kick in the door of a house that wasn't his to save his friend, just to find out the guy that pulled the strings was on his side, in
Mm.
referencing Amir, of course. And then he
Yeah.
ends up, I think he tried to make up to him by saying, I've seen God and he's told me there are my ways. And he said, I don't want to hear it, motherfucker. And then you can hear him physically throw the headset off
Yeah.
and like storm out and slam the door
Yeah.
while it's got this really emotional
Guitar going.
guitar solo at the end.
It's great. It's
And
great.
it's crazy. And it's definitely the emotional centerpiece of the album in the same way
Precisely.
that sort of reminds me a bit of Kanye's Runaway in that he sort of says his most emotional bits and then it's just a really emotional music
Mm.
section afterwards.
Yeah. I swear
And
on
yeah, I
that.
didn't really pick it up the first time.
April 14th. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a moving moment.
It is. It's definitely a standout,
But I
and it's a
think
standout track on the album. It's great.
definitely, but I think for me the quality of songs dips from this point. Although I didn't
Mhm.
hate I've Been Born Again as much as a lot of people.
I don't hate it. I like how it's a stark change. Bear in mind, from how vulnerable Dilly Departed is, and how
Well, it
kind of
was the lead single as well, which was interesting.
it's strange. But it's back to these West Coast buttery beats. It's another great bass line, a fun melody, and yeah, it's just like pretty standard. I really like how the group seem to have fun warping and distorting their own voices. Um, like you can have this voice which you can't tell who it is, but you can tell it's one of
Are
them.
you referring to Joba's verse?
I reckon so. Someone has this like southern drawl on it, and I like how it ends kind of.
Yeah, he sounds like a old DJ Screw style verse.
Mhm.
And again, I think that was probably the highlight of the song for me. Just the way that he sort of using all this slang and stuff. I thought it was pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
And Kevin and Merlin again, pretty good.
Mm. Shall we talk about your favorite song?
Oh my god.
The
This is the worst song they've released in quite a
oh no,
long
crap.
time.
I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. I really like Ginger. I
There is
think
nothing to like about this song. It's
I
just a bad pop song.
disagree. No, I really
It
like
sounds like
it.
a Black Eyed Peas song.
I don't know about that. I really like the kind of indie feel it has, like how it's a faster beat and how um there's just like strange it's not a hook, but like what they say is like now you got your own space. Then it's sung in a chorus after. I love the auto-tuned vocals. I think they complement the electronic kind of indie vibe of the whole piece. It seems like it has this vulnerable and nostalgic atmosphere to it. I love the contrast of this choir later in. I love that breakdown back into that hook, and then it comes back with the chorus and further auto-tuned layers. I think it's really strong. It's sad, but it does feel kind of poignant, and it's new direction. You know, I like it.
Nah, that shit's trash.
Okay, let's move on to Big Boy. um, Darker, sadder, but in a different way.
Hmm.
Uh, I think it's fitting after
It's
the
quite
kind of
murky in a
vibe
way.
Ginger. Yep. This yeah, how there's all these. I don't know if it's on the hook, but there's all these kind of lines which really demeaning. Uh, Verses about kind of worrying about one's self worth, keeping up, where you're going, wanting to change. Lost cause and a lost child. Something about like make me up, make me better, just patch me up and stitch it. Um, then the kind of synth complements that being kind of more melancholic, and then there's this distortion at the end, this angry bass, kind of white noise, this underlying violence and anger at your situation. I liked it a lot. And it's
I thought the hook was
you're a
cool.
big boy now. You're a big boy now. Something like that. It was really cool.
But the only thing that really stood out for me was the hook, and actually surprisingly Bareface's verse. I think everything else was a bit mediocre again.
I think mediocre. I think it's pretty damn good. Yeah. I didn't have much to say about the next track though. Love Me for Life.
No,
Feel-
I like Joba's verse, but I think everything else was real. Especially again, the first verse was just so caked in auto tune. It was so irritating.
okay.
I
Yeah.
think I didn't mind when they used it so much on Iridescence and in previous things, and like when Joba pitched his verse down really low on I've Been Born Again, I thought that was good. But when they
Mhm.
turned it up to sound like my least favorite version of Lil Yachty, I it's just not for me. I don't like it at all.
That's fair enough. I think had barely anything to say about this. It really
Oh, it
just
just
forgettable track.
grinds my gears.
But the following track, the final track,
Well,
Victor
I think
Roberts.
this should have been a bonus track or like a
Really?
non-album single. Don't get me wrong, Victor Roberts, he does sort of fit the vibe,
I think
and
if it's
I think the Ryan Beatty and Bareface outro is a nice way to sign the album off.
yeah.
But I don't know, it's named after him, who I think is a friend of Dom's or relation or something. But he's the newest member of Brockhampton,
Hmm.
and this was sort of showcasing him. But I think that they could have perhaps done it another way rather than the outro. Although the story he was telling about his parents' arrest was very
I
compelling,
loved the story. I really loved it. I really
and the
loved
sort of using his Power Rangers as a metaphor for the Guardians, I thought that was pretty nice as
it.
well.
Yeah. How he kicks it off with like my Power Rangers, Power Ranger armor, I think. Can't potential on those LAPD kicks though. That's fucking. Yeah, it's sobering. It's like sobering piece about like a drug raid, the aftermath, the thoughts going on through his head, his emotions. I didn't expect that.
And how it was his fault.
It floored me. I thought it was great. I liked how it was over this kind of lo-fi piano piece. It was kind of understated to really make it ensure that he shined, not the instrumental. I like that. Then kind of the band comes in singing harmonies aplenty, and it's I think it's a great piece to end on. As all of the Saturation trilogy ended on a sung piece as well, I like that they're keeping that kind of tradition going. And again, it made me realize how much of a well put together project this is. I think it's
And what a mess Iridescence was.
yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely one of the best. I think it's better than Saturation 2 in some ways. I think it really does. It's a new direction, and with like the best of the things from what they were doing previously. Really good.
I was all with
And I'm
you until
giving
you
it
said it was the best mix of the best things. I still think they do bang as the best.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. They seem to have left some of the bad things behind, and it's a new direction. You know, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
I was gonna go with you, but the more I think about the bad things I don't like about this album, the more I think I'd be lying to myself if I said I thought it was an 8.
Really?
I mean, Ginger's just such a bad song. Love Me for Life, same thing. And there's a couple of nondescript ones as well. So I think a 7's fair.
I think
It's
good
much
makeup.
more of a it's much more of a baton pass and a more mature adventure than Iridescence was, and we'll sort of, I think, in time we'll go down as like a stopgap sort of project.
This one.
Just give the fans new music, and then Sat 3 to this will make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
A bit
Yeah.
like I think people have started doing with the Travis Scott discography, saying Rodeo to Astro World, ignoring Birds in the Trap, because that was a bit of a mess as well.
Yeah.
But hey, I think there's lots to like about this. Particularly the first 7 songs, I think, are pretty much flawless.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on to The Alchemist. One of our favorite producers. We talked about his products a lot. Reviewed one
We did
quite
his EP.
Yeah,
Bread. Good
And
name.
now we're going to talk about Yacht Rock 2. Is there a Yacht Rock 1? That's what I want to know.
I actually haven't looked. I imagine there would be. You don't usually jump to 2.
Mm. But people.
But this is a very simple. It's got a very simple theme running through it, doesn't it? Just luxury and yacht life.
The high life, but I think it's all kind of satirizing it. I think it has this satirical line running right the way through it, which just becomes on certain tracks is a lot more noticeable. But yeah, without these features,
I
it would
think
just
with the
be though.
yeah, I think with the I didn't really think that until you said it, and now that you mentioned it, a lot of the vocal snippets about life at sea and boats does bring that vibe. I think the verses aren't usually that satirical though.
No, the verses aren't, but it's these snippets from adverts, from people talking about there's there's one like yacht shopping, and it's like look how much there's one later on where it's I need some sandcastles. Sandcastles. Can you think of a more satirical title for someone for like a beachfront property though? You know, there's
Yeah.
all
Well,
these things. Like there's like
the
look this
DJ Khaled ones
spaces.
as
It's
well,
like such a good view, something like that.
and the DJ
Uh,
Khaled vocal clips.
are there?
Yeah, well, especially on the opening one, where it's like, they don't want to see me on a yacht, in his
Oh, look.
usual paranoid self, thinking that there's people out there trying to stop him.
I want to see DJ Khaled on a yacht wearing
On the
something.
exclusive vibe, the intro track, it's just
Ace,
this
yeah.
regal,
Again, exclusive.
lush
Such it's like it's pointing fun at it. It's like
in many ways.
I like how
And
it
but
kind
the
of
instrumentation throughout this is so classy,
oh
and
definitely.
it just keeps playing these weird vocal clips, some of which appear to be from, like you said, an advert. But then
Mm,
you got these DJ Khaled bits. They're all yacht related, talking about boats. It's just
yeah,
yeah, you
I think
sort of broadened my horizon there, really.
I think it has this. So I think exclusive vibe cut starts off. It has this kind of smoky sort of vibe to it. I love the horns in it. Um, there's that line, "We dare your jaw not to drop." It's very nice. There's this kind of cheesy sax. It's a bit. It's all like very sexy and cheesy. Still kind of cool. Feels retro. Um, and then with these kind of satirical snippets, that feels very vaporwave to me. Like a big underpinning point of the movement of vaporwave music was to point fun at commercialism. I think that's what this is kind of doing. Um, there's also these they feel like snippets from like a detective show or something. There's one line which is like rule number one, don't forget a Colt 45. Rule number two is don't forget rule number one. And that
Oh,
sounds like
that's
it's
on
from
the track much later on.
it's on a track much later, but I get this kind of uh, sort of vintage detective vibe from some of these
Mm.
instrumentals. But okay, Uptown Aquarium is sequenced lovely. All of the transitions between tracks is just amazing on this. It's kind of muffled underwater at the start, and then it
Yeah.
just comes out, and it's like sunny, it's smooth, it's cool.
And can I
It's
just say that vocal sample when it comes in, that lady talking about her hair getting blown in the sea wind and stuff is heavenly.
oh yeah.
And the beat is probably this is probably actually my favorite song.
The next track is my favorite song.
But it's this beautiful instrumental, this sort
Yeah.
of slightly up pitched female vocals, and then you've got just big body bears talking pure shit in it's sort of related to water, but then he
Yeah.
like randomly switches it up. That one particular line where he was sort of talking about swimming with mermaids, and then he said, "I'm drowning in sin. No life jacket can save me." Before saying, "I do music now," and then laughed before the song ended. I just thought that was
Yeah.
hilarious.
It's cool.
And I
There's
liked that he started off this project with his three best friends all on the songs. I thought that was really nice.
because we have Action Bronson on the next one. I think who better to have on a track which has this kind of jazzy, kind of Latin jazz beat, which does kind of have these noir vibes to it. I think it's very, very in his kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, and there's a lot of braggadocio as well, which
Oh
is
yeah,
what he's all about.
fades. There's
And you
like
know,
a helicopter with this hanger. Um, it's is one of the snippets on it. Like it's so cool. Then there's this line like chum in the water, and then like I can smell it like a shark, and then there's this
mm,
snippet later like nothing chummy about the way they're talking. It's so cool. Yeah, that's some great stuff right there.
and then the final of the quartet,
Sex in the Fontaine Bleu or Fontaine Bleu,
Bleu, with
Bleu
Mayhem
Bleu.
Loren. I think the beat was actually pretty nondescript on this one. It's probably the only time I'd say that. But I think Mayhem Loren was pretty good. He gives his usual. He's a. It's hit me recently how incredibly similar he is to Action Bronson, and all apart from like voice, like lyrically, they're on a very similar level.
Yeah.
It's just sort of their niche, funny references, and like to brag a lot as well.
Yeah.
So again, the perfect sort of project for him to be a part of.
I love how his flow is kind of in bursts. But yeah, I agree. It's not the strongest beat, but I do like the drum sample quite a bit. Another point I'd like to make is that I found the keyboard to be a bit distracting on this. But I thought it came to a close rather well. I was definitely more of a fan of the next track, Stugos or Stuggets. I think it's a bit of a colder piano beat. It feels like more of a proper song. Like a lot of these tracks are like a minute and a half. There's not much to them, in regards to length. But what's the genre where they kind of just like jam packed tons of stuff.
The thing Flying Lotus.
Yeah,
I don't know.
similar. Just because they just put so much into such a short amount of time. It's very efficient.
It's a very beautiful piano sample.
Definitely very rich. It feels like the kind of track you'd hear towards the end of a story when someone is super rich. With the Kid has this cool flow, and here I really like how a lot of his bars had these metaphors, rhymes, and references to sailing, the sea, holidaying.
Well, this is
And
what I wanted throughout the project, because you had it with Big Body Bears, Action Bronson, Mayhem the Ram, Willie the Kid, and the next few songs. I'll get to my gripes later, but probably another very good top tier song would be Boat Shoes for me. I thought the instrumental in this song was fantastic. There was that funny video of Diddy sort of stating that his yacht wasn't as good as like his neighbours, or in the what's it called? Not the port, wherever you park your yacht, whatever it was called.
Yeah, a dock or a harbour, maybe.
Dock, yeah. And I thought that Alan and Ono were very good on this song.
Yeah, yeah. I really like there was this line like caught me with the socks in my moccasins.
And the one about him spilling his whiskey because the yacht was docking.
It's all kind of it's like this big ode to the high life in summer. One thing I loved was he had this line, "Scotty, I get beamed up," and then there's this like UFO sound effect which goes in. I love stuff like that when you got the producers listening to the rapper and their bars and they put in silly stuff like that. I love it.
Was it the first or the second verse?
I think it was probably the first verse.
Well, then he wouldn't need to listen to it because it was his verse.
Okay, even better. I thought it was a really fun effect.
It was one of the weird ones where there were two verses.
Yeah,
because like you said, a lot of the songs are quite short, but this one actually got to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Gangrene. You should go and check out some of their projects if you haven't.
Oh yeah, I definitely will. They got a great name as well. Ocean Prime, the next track, it's the first for like it feels like more of a proper beat and less of like. When I say that though, I just mean it feels a bit less chock-a-blocked, so to speak, a bit less like so efficient.
There's more room to breathe.
Definitely, precisely. I really like how it
more ocean air.
Which exactly drops into this bridge portion. It's very lively and fun, and it moves on into the following track very smoothly. But I didn't think there was much too special going on.
I thought the instrumental bodied Boldy James. It was just so classy and slick. But I thought, I mean, his voice sort of was so. It wasn't. I think it was mixed a bit too quiet because he didn't really stand out.
No.
That much. But I did like the line where he said, "Life's a beach. It needs a coast guard." I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
And he did have a lot of references to the sea life again, but it's just not that not that interesting.
No.
I thought the
What about
Harry O with Rock Marciano, for example, was way
exactly?
better.
I really dug Marciano's memorable voice. I really like it. It's kind of nasally, kind of yeah. I thought it was really cool. Had this late night vibe on the whole track. I really like the female chorus in the background.
Mm.
It seems kind of mysterious, but in this sort of innocent way. Um,
This is going to sound a bit on the nose, but I think the tracks with rappers that I knew going in were the best ones.
yeah,
Like
probably.
this one. I didn't like that he tried to debunk flat Earth theory though, because the Earth is flat and you just need to accept it, and move on.
There
But
was
he ended the instrumental was so slick, and he ended the verse saying that he's just on the boat, um, like fishing and getting orcas in.
I also really was a big fan of the vocal snippet they had. This realtor saying, "This is a great space." You know, very typical and um, satirical rather, and it leads on very nicely, kind of as a primer for sandcastles. This is a great space. Like, buy this beachfront property.
Mm.
Um, very satirical title, as I said. It has this very smooth synth bass with this kind of little flick at the end of each bar, where it has this tango sort of element. And besides that, I felt it felt rather video gamey in a kind of good way. It was not my favorite. I was hoping for
Better
more.
from Benny.
Yeah, definitely.
I've done the two songs together because I thought that they had the same problems for me, which is that while they were good rap songs on the face of it,
Hmm.
the Alan stick to his end of the bargain. The instrumentals were all very lush and regal as they were and everything, but Benny the Butcher, El Camino, Conway, and West Side Gun, hardly any references to living the high life on the oceans. You know,
Yeah, exactly. It felt like
in
it
fact,
kind
I
of
don't
lost
think
its
there
way.
were any. It was just sort of
No,
rapping for the sake of it.
I was hoping that there'd be bars of like satirical bars about people who buy these properties and stuff.
Hmm.
But no, nothing.
Although the guitar on East Side,
Exactly. Yeah, the
I
electric guitar
loved.
is great, and I really like the ambient wave sounds in the background on East Side and how it fades out into the waves. It was really cool. Billy D feels very sexy. There's like it
That
starts off with
bass
this
line. Ooh.
look, I'm on television. The waves, the guitar. There's those like rules for having a good time that felt kind of detective-y. Yeah, it has this sort of noir vibe, and then horns come in, great percussion, and then it kind of slows down for the end, which is nice. The floating hotel, like it's a sample on it, like with a floating hotel at the end.
And
Um,
that woodwind sample was very sweet.
yeah, it's really daydreamy.
Yeah,
Very,
I've
I
actually
get this
put that.
big
It's a
'70s
very
vibe.
dreamy instrumental, and then it's sort of like just when you're in like the sort of hazy days,
Mm,
then that vocal sample comes in of the floating hotel.
yeah, it's so cool. There's these kind of 50s holiday strings. It's a bit cheesy, like an advert for a paradise. Yeah, I always get this. It's not quite because it has this satirical edge to it. It's like it's this advert for this paradise, yet there's something off. It's not so wholeheartedly trying to extol this is paradise. You're in paradise right now. It's like we're the floating hotel, but how stupid is it that we have a floating hotel? It's a gimmick. So it feels kind of like a sickly sort of dream. Um, but really cool. I get this big '70s vibe from a lot of these tracks. It's
Yeah, and
like
you could tell some of
just
the,
think,
especially the adverts, were
yeah,
like very old
yeah,
vocals.
yeah. It's like it just reminds you of like the old beat tapes I used to listen to on YouTube. Though I really liked it. I I think the great parts in this are great, but there's some parts in the middle which just felt a bit samey. That's why I'm giving it a 7. I still think it's a good project. So I'm going to come back to it, but yeah, I don't know. Some of the features just didn't deliver. I think.
Mm. I think he could have used some better vocal features. Like, I think if he could have got a Nas verse on this, I think he would have done a great job
Mm.
rapping about the sea life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think, like you said, the artists I knew going in, so Big Body Bears, Action Bronson, Memi Loren, Gangrene, and Rock Marciano were all very good. But
Yeah.
the sort of the new guys he's been promoting, I do like Benny the Butcher and Westside Gun, but I thought they just stuck to their usual subject matter.
I was hoping for more from Benny the Butcher, especially after he
As
dropped
was I.
that great um, little EP.
Plugs I met.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I think if you're playing this at like a boat party,
Yeah.
then that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I can my favourite songs, I can see me returning to them again and again and again.
Oh, definitely.
Just because I love The Alchemist.
Yeah, me too.
And
I'm
then the
definitely
rest
gonna
will just fall
give
into the ether.
a fair few times.
And
I
the rest
love
will just.
when it conjures up.
Yeah.
There's what
And I
about?
think it's a 6 for me. Maybe it's actually
Yeah.
a 7. Let's give it a 7.
Oh,
What the
damn, we're
heck?
actually in agreement for once. This
What
is
the
rare,
heck?
a rare occurrence. Who the hell let this happen? Okay, let's talk about some singles. We have two singles from two big names. Shall we start off with ASAP Rocky?
This is an awesome video.
Boy. Hmm?
This song has an awesome video.
I haven't seen the video. I've seen a still. It looks pretty cool.
You got the police that are all pig men. ASAP Rocky robs a bank while wearing a babushka.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kill the police and turn them into sausages. And then another police officer eats it in a burger.
Oh, that is grim. I want to watch it. I love because I really like this song. I love the percussion. It has this kind of that the percussion it starts off with. It seems like it's such a retro like thing to use. I really liked it. Then there's the 808 is kind of understated, and then it just goes beast mode out of nowhere. Like I love that part where ASAP Rocky's speaking backwards for one line, and then like he goes so hard over the whole thing. I really like how they echoed his vocals, and like yeah, the first time I listened to it, I didn't get too much from it. The second time, boy, I wanna see the Babushka boy. It was cool. And I really like how there's this scream at the end which makes up part of the beat. It's cold, man. It's cold. Very cool.
I love the sort of Memphis style vocal samples in the background.
Mm.
I thought the beat banged. It sort of had the siren style effect to it. Pretty good single. Probably.
Pretty
Well, I
great.
like Testing, but it's still one of the best things he's done in a while.
Yeah. I think I got a really big I got a testing vibe from this with the flow he was using and how it was it's these kind of sort of wackier sounds at times. I think I like testing quite a lot. I thought it was a good album. Didn't deserve what Melon gave it. Rip in peace. But it's good to see that he hasn't been dissuaded. He is still going for these kind of more out there sounds.
Well, it is what he does best.
Gucci Gang. What about Pusha T and Miss Lauryn Hill? A collab I didn't think was gonna happen.
Well, I saw a little snippet of an interview he did talking about the song, and apparently he had to literally stalk her and almost harass her to get these vocals.
For real?
Yeah, but it was worth it
Yeah.
because she's sort of got into hiding almost.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's one of the most talked about women in hip hop. One of the most talked about people in hip hop. Full stop. You know?
Never really did anything after she was miseducated.
Yeah. One and done.
So he dropped 2 songs this week. The very dingy and dark Sociopath, and this song. which was much more cheerful.
Much
I
more cheerful.
I think lyrically we didn't get a lot from Pusha T, but I think Lauren's hook's amazing. The beats is very triumphant,
Definitely.
and
It's just very big
it
around.
fit the theme of the song,
I love.
like people coming home from jail.
Yeah, yeah. I love yeah, Miss Lauren Hill's soulful vocals. I like to. I just I wasn't sure that King Push had this in his repertoire. Like this kind of it's very much like a feel good song coming from the only drug dealer at Fashion Week.
Mm.
It's nice to listen to. It was not what I was expecting though. I was expecting something a lot darker.
But
But
even in the triumphance thing, it's still about all his friends from jail coming back. So it's not like
no, definitely, it's not
the
happy.
full feel good story. But
No.
it's nice. It still has to happen.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
fully behind this song.
oh yeah,
Production
definitely.
from Kanye West. Those two songs
Production
both produced by Kanye West. I believe they were leftovers from Daytona,
Ah.
and I can see why, because they don't fit the sound of that one as much.
Yeah.
Because that album, it's like it just glided from one track to the next seamlessly, and those would probably have stepped out, but they're still good songs. And yeah, I'm excited to see if he drops another full Kanye produced album. I think that'd be very cool.
I am not complaining. I'll be having good dreams about that tonight. Okay, that rounds us off. I've been Tim, and you have been.
Been Ginger.
You've been Ginger. Have you, Tom?
Bye bye.
Okay. I asked